going on, guys? Today we are taking a look at the Star Cat Star Rescue Deluxe Team. Now, what makes this set deluxe versus the normal size set? Well, this is actually the bigger set. These 5 figures are larger and more expensive than the other set, and these guys are bigger than the Dino Team, or their combined mode is anyway. So I'm going to show you guys these figures each individually, and then we'll do a combination at the end. Since none of these figures are actually named, I've come up with names by myself. This one I'm calling Blades. Okay, not really. I'm calling, I like to go back to the GoBots for these guys, since they are kind of knockoffs or original figures, or original knockoffs, we'll say. I'm calling this one Copter. I know that's super original, but we're just going to call him Copter. And he's actually a medical helicopter that looks like he's got weapon pods there up in the front, which he does. These little pods here, they open up and have missiles inside, though it is very tight and very hard to get those pods open. The blades spin pretty much on their own. The helicopter's transformation is pretty easy. To start off with, remove the runners from underneath the chopper. They will become handheld weapons. And then we remove the helicopter blades, and they will fold up into a sword. Then come over to the pods on the side and remove them. And like I said, they do open. Just getting them open is a little bit difficult. So we've got these weird clear missiles in here, and they could be used in robot mode. So we're left with what looks to be like some kind of weird submarine. You do have to be careful about the combiner port down here. It does have a tendency to flip out, but it's not that big a deal. The transformation is really simple. Fold the canopy forward and then twist the entire fuselage 180, and then that will actually peg up underneath the canopy. Fold the top part of the fuselage out to form the arms, and that's actually the hardest part of the transformation, is just flipping those arms around. And then flip out the fists. Fold the arms down and flip out the fists. Take the part of the fuselage and fold them down along the sides of the legs. And you can reach down and flip up the tail rotor, and they will actually flip up to the sides to form, well, you're really supposed to let them form feet, but it doesn't really work all that well feet-wise. And then flip up the head. And here we have a chopper, or copter, or whatever the heck you want to call him. Now, I think mine has been misassembled because it's kind of like you have to turn the legs inward, or turn them around to get the feet. No, I transformed the legs wrong. Pull them all the way down and then flip them up. So it's strange. I think you're supposed to flip the legs around, but I don't think he was assembled right, because this is obviously a foot in the front, but if you try to turn him around, it doesn't work all that well. So do that. Well, then the figure can't really stand, now can he? It's just very, very weird. So maybe you could turn the hips around again, but then that doesn't look right, and every time I try to do it, it feels like it's going to break. It's odd, but you have no toes in the front, but he's got toes or heels in the back, so I guess this is the way he's supposed to go. In terms of decking him out with weapons, you're not going to be able to get all of the weapons on him, simply because there's just not enough room. There's not enough room, and there's not enough support down by his feet to have him wielding all this crap. Head sculpt really does remind me of a GoBot. It really, really does. Just, it's not bad by any stretch of the imagination, but it is pretty simple. It does have some pretty darn good light piping, though. Next up is Crasher. Now, I've named him Crasher simply because he looks like he's supposed to be a really rough and tough battering ram type vehicle. I do have a slight mistransformation on this guy, as I'm not, well, it's not that I'm missing the accessory, I just didn't put it in. He's supposed to have a grill right up front here, and then these front bits are supposed to fold forward. in front of the grill. I just didn't put the grill on because once you've got him in vehicle mode, it's a pain in the butt to get that grill on. Yes, I'm just being lazy. Moving on to what can only be described as the tactical vehicle, his transformation is pretty easy. Start off with by just kind of grabbing the backs or the back of the truck mode, and kind of splitting them off and folding them up and away from the rest of the vehicle. These will actually form the legs, believe it or not. Then come up to the front and open the front up to really get the arms going, and then flip the back out, and then just kind of unfold them. Hips will flip around and into place. Fold out the feet. Doesn't really have much in the way of heels, unfortunately. Flip the sides around to form the arms. Open the chest up and flip up the head. If you had any doubts if this team is going to have a gorilla-like bruiser on it, then this guy is definitely going to fit that bill. He's okay proportion-wise, but the lack of heels does make him a bit top-heavy, so you have to be very careful when posing him. I just like to have him just standing looking tough. That's just what I like to do with him. He really doesn't have much in the way of accessories, except for maybe like 1 or 2 little blade type things, but he doesn't really need them. The arms are heavy enough that the pins here on the shoulders really have a hard time holding the arms up sometimes. Especially, am I the only one who finds his head sculpt extremely creepy? It's just kind of half smiling at you. It doesn't work well for me. Nice light piping though. Lots of good light piping on this guy. I named this guy Smallfoot simply because, yeah, it's an ambulance, but it kind of looks like a shoe. Well, the next one after this really looks like a shoe, but I just like the name Smallfoot. It just works. At least I think it does. As a vehicle mode, this one's a little bit on the boring side. It looks like it's supposed to be some kind of futuristic ambulance, and that's about it. There's really nothing else to this one, except it looks kind of ambulance-y. Of the 5 bots, this transformation is by far the weirdest. To start off with, we're going to just remove these thrusters that actually fold out into very big wing-type things. Very, very strange. I don't get that. So they both fold out and open up and unfold into great big wings. Strange. The transformation itself is really very weird. Start off by folding the front of the cab out to form the legs. That's not so strange. And then the feet will fold up. Again, no real heels, but thankfully there's a nice flat bottom going on there so the figure can stand. And then the torso transformation. The torso transformation is, as I said, strange. Take the entire top of the rear of the vehicle, flip it up and over. Then come underneath and flip out these panels onto what are the outer forearms. Then the entire rear of the vehicle flips around down, and then the top of the vehicle becomes a pseudo backpack. Then we could flip the head up from the chest, peg that into place, fold out the arms, and then the wings are supposed to attach either, forgot to fold out the rear wheels. The wings are supposed to attach either here on the forearms, or there are apparently other ways to attach the wings to the back of the figure. Maybe in these open spots right here. Honestly, I haven't found it, but I've seen pictures of it where the wings are attached back here and it looks all crazy. But the only thing I've been able to do is attach it to the upper arms and then just kind of have it lay like that. Oh, we forgot to twist the hips. So yeah, we have probably the ugliest of all of the bots. This just looks real dumb. And I mean real dumb. Oh, and yes, it's way too top-heavy. Of all the bots, this has the most normal head sculpt. I think in the show it's supposed to be driven by a female, but that is definitely a masculine head sculpt. Again, whoop. Again, pretty darn good light piping on this. And obviously I had to go with Scooter for this guy. He's kind of like a weird jet hover bike. It's a very, very odd alt mode. And you see the robot head here in the, I guess the canopy. I guess you could turn the head around, but it really doesn't help because he's just going to be staring back at his pilot, whoever that is. Though I do like it, it's just really strange. Of all the bots, the Scooter definitely has the easiest transformation. First, unpeg the legs and fold them down, or the thrusters, and then flip out the feet. Turn the legs around and stand the figure up. Next, take the sides and fold out the arms and flip out the fists, which are just right under there. And then fold the whole front canopy forward, flipping it down. And then you could close the canopy, or the front of the vehicle, and then close up the canopy. And you're pretty much done, except folding out the hands. Of all the robot modes, I have to admit this is the most boring. There's nothing crazy about it, but I think that's okay. Because he's just this weird little scooter hover bike thing, there's really not a lot they could do, but you actually get probably my favorite figure of the set next to the helicopter. He's simple, he has an interesting mode, his transformation's okay, and he holds together pretty well. I rather like this guy, even if his bot mode is a little bit boring. He does have one of the weirder head sculpts. It's just strange. It's like he's got a giant robot beard. Or mutton chops. He's got robot mutton chops. Very, very odd. Again, really good light piping. Last but not least is... I'm just going to call him Hoser. I know that's pretty much an insult, but I just like the name Hoser. That's not a GoBot name by any stretch. I just think it's stupid. Because he's got these giant hoses up here, and I don't know. I don't even know what I'm thinking. I'm really dumb at naming things. This guy's supposed to be, I guess, some kind of tanker ladder. It's very different. We've got this giant ladder, which is articulated, and then we've got this giant tanker, which I assume is supposed to hold water, or maybe library paste. I don't know. Who knows what the Starcats eat? Last up for the transformation is the fire truck. I'm not sure. It's a ladder truck and a fire truck. It's weird. So, first off, take off the ladder. Pop the ladder off. This will become a weapon/shield later. Then we can unclip the rear of the vehicle from the tank. And just kind of flip the tank up and out of the way. Take the front wheels, and this is where things get a little strange. Pull them down away from the figure, and then flip out the front like you're transforming an Optimus Prime figure. Turn the hoses so that they're pointing forward again, and then turn the bottom wheels so they're pointing forward, and then inside the wheels are the robot fists that are a lot harder to get out and flip out than you might think. You actually are going to need something sharp and thin and pointy in order to get them to fold out. Using something sharp, flat, or pointy to fold the fists out. Next, we'll reach up and flip up the head, and turn it around. Then come to the back and grab the center of the vehicle mode and pull forward and twist 180. And then it should snap into place, but mine really doesn't snap. Then fold out the front of the feet and the back of the feet, or the heels. And then the little post there that is the combiner port, that actually adds a bit of stability to the figure. And then you can take the canister here, and the whole thing splits apart and splits in half, and then folds up behind the robot mode like this. So you kind of just have him like that. It does make him horribly top-heavy, but you end up with a pretty cool-looking robot mode. Even though I like this guy a lot, I think he's really, really cool, I normally transform him by pulling off these container parts, or these gray backpack pieces, simply because his knees just are not strong enough to really hold him up all that well. Plus, you really can't pose him because he's so freaking top-heavy. Though the figure is really nifty, again, the stuff just gets in the way. These container bits, these components, I'm not sure even what to call them, just get in the way and just don't make for a good play session or anything really fun. Yeah, they add a nice aesthetic appeal to the figure, but they're really kind of unnecessary. And I think they're better served in the combined mode than in this mode. I do have a little workaround for the knees, though. I like to turn the legs out a little bit, and that does add a little bit of support with the back of the wheels, so that helps. But yeah, he just looks really bulky with the backpack, and I think he would look better without them. So removing them is pretty darn easy, but you do have to be careful as these pins will eventually break at some point. But I think that makes the figure look a lot better. Yeah, you've got the black pieces just sticking off like that, but it helps the figure stand a lot easier, and it just makes him look a little bit cooler, in my opinion. I think he looks a lot better like this than he did with them. So that's just a personal opinion. All told, I think the StarCat team is actually pretty impressive. I think the quality is better on this set than the Dino set, or the Dino Team set, and it's just a nifty take on rescue vehicles that are transforming robots. I actually like the set a lot, and I like the individual robots, but the two guys here up front are definitely my favorite, followed by the big guy back here. So, now that we've taken a look at all of them, let's go ahead and get them combined. Returning the smaller bots to vehicle mode, first we're going to start with the Bruiser and the ambulance, and they're just going to attach to the feet. Just split the front of the Bruiser, I like to call it the Bruiser, open and plug that in, and then flip up the connector port. There we got one. That's one leg. A little bit fiddly, but one leg down. And then for the ambulance, just open up the front a little bit and get the connector in, like so. And flip up the connector port, like that. And legs are done. That's it. All said and done. The helicopter and the scooter are next. You just return the helicopter to its helicopter mode, flip up the rotor, or the rear rotor, and then put the arm connector in there and flip out the connector port, and that's it. That's one arm. Then for the scooter, flip it down the connector port, straighten out the legs, actually turn them 180, because normally this is the inside of the leg, and then add a connector port and attach the hand. And that's it for that guy. For the main guy, first we're going to fold up the fists, and then rotate the arms back around like you're going to transform him into his rescue mode, we'll say. And then attach, get the leg, kind of get the hips out of the way, and then attach them into the arms, into where they're supposed to go. There are pins right inside there. Big old plastic pins that you connect the inside of the elbow to, and that'll lock it into place. Once the arms are in place, you'll take these big white pieces and flip them around, thus exposing connector pegs, so. And then take the hips and fold them down as far as they will go. They will rub up against the under the arms, and when they do, just stop and kind of fiddle with it until you could get things moved into place. It's not easy. You could run the risk of breaking it. I just like to wedge it in there as best I can, or just kind of leave it so that it's just barely sticking out. I wish there was more in the way of getting them clearance, but Even turning it around doesn't really work. I guess you could sand these sections down a bit, but oh well. The other option is to leave the legs back like that, but then you're going to create a very top-heavy figure, a front-heavy figure that's going to have problems. So I just bring it to the point where, as far as it'll go, and then you're supposed to push the legs, those sections, up into the body, or I'm sorry, collapse the legs, not push them up into the body. That doesn't make any sense. And then take the feet and fold them up and back as far as they will go. A little odd that you do that, but that's what you're supposed to do. So he looks like that, and you want to make sure that it snaps into place. It's a little harder said than done sometimes. But once you get it, this is what he's supposed to look like that. Now I know from just playing with this figure that clearance issue that we have here with the hip, that is actually going to be a major issue. The figure is going to be practically useless because of it. It's going to be all top-heavy and kind of wonky. So something that I do is I actually will unpeg the arms and I will flip them around. It's kind of unsightly, but then you can fold the arms down, or fold the legs down, and you flip them around and you still can peg them into place, thus locking them in. So you still are able to lock them in. You've got a little bit more room, and you can get the hips down to where they're supposed to be. So a win-win, in my opinion. And here we have the combined mode. I actually really like the look of the combined mode. I think it looks good. I genuinely like it. Though this set has a serious series of issues, especially with the legs. The leg on or the hips on the main bot are not strong enough to hold him together. The feet, or the connectors on the actual leg bots, are not strong enough to hold them standing. And the feet, well, forget the hinges here because they are way, way, way too loose. So just getting him to stand is a challenge. And he looks really sad when he's trying to stand. He's like, I want to be awesome, but I just can't be. So guys, I'm going to have to say, as individual bots, this set is really nifty. I really like this set as individuals. As a combiner, they suck. They look cool combined together, but just forget getting this guy to stand normally or actually pose him dramatically. I think that's what I mean. I could get him to stand. That's about it. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video review of the Sirtoys Star Cats team. It was a TFC Toys team initially, but then they sold it off to another bunch of Chinese manufacturers who really didn't do that great of a job. Guys, please like, comment, and subscribe, and as usual, I'm Baltmatrix, and I'll catch you next time.